Shabbat Shalom, Israel. Man, I hope everybody is having a blessed day of rest. I hope everybody has strived to enter into the Most High Yah's set apart day, i.e. the Shabbat. You know, the title of the message is Whoredom. You know, I'm going to talk about this in the physical and the spiritual aspect with an emphasis on the spiritual aspect because, man, I want people to understand in today's message that we live in a world that only wants to look at the physical, not understanding that the physical is a second order effect of spiritually what's going inside. And oftentimes the spirit of whoredom is already operating in us, causing us to commit whoredoms in the physical. Welcome to all in Shabbat Shalom, Israel. Hope everybody is doing well, in good health, in good mind, good conscience, and, you know, in the Ruach of the Most High. How to support the ministry. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, turn your notifications on and set to all notifications. Share this video with a brother or sister that needs to hear it. If you would like to give an offering or donate, Cash App or PayPal, links are in the description. Thank you for all your support. Shabbat Shalom, family. In these last days, many are able to identify physical sin. Okay? Yet few discern spiritual whoredom, which Yahweh consistently condemns as one of the greatest offenses against him. Scripture reveals that whoredom is not merely sexual misconduct, but spiritual whoredom. When Yah's covenant people open themselves to foreign spirits, false worship, and pagan practices while claiming to belong to him, just as a marriage is a sacred covenant, so too is the relationship between Yahweh and his people. From Genesis to Revelation, Yah uses marriage imagery to explain loyalty, purity, and devotion. Today we will examine how Israel was divorced for spiritual adultery, how believers are vessels that receive spirits, how Eve entertained another voice though she belonged to Adam, and how modern participation in pagan holidays labeled as Christian is no different in the spiritual realm than a wife committing adultery against her husband. Understanding this truth is essential if we are to remain faithful as the bride of Messiah, of Mashiach, in these last days.
The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us. Even now, in this very room. You can see it when you look out your window or when you turn on your television. You can feel it when you go to work, when you go to church, when you pay your taxes. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. What truth? That you are a slave. Like everyone else, you were born into bondage. Unfortunately, no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
Why are we here today? Exodus chapter 20, verses 8 through 11. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. Man, I'll just stop right there. You know, most people are submitted to another deity, another entity, another organization when it comes to keeping Sunday sun worship, which is unbiblical, is not commanded. Keeping first day is not a commandment. It's not an instruction. You know, there's not, we don't find it in the Torah as having a judgment or a penalty for it. Keeping first day, but violating the Sabbath. We are instructed to remember the Sabbath, to keep it holy. There is a judgment for violating. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. Work, Hebrew word 4399, employment, public business, occupation, industrious, public service. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of Yahweh. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days Yahweh made the heaven and earth, the sea, and all that is in them, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore Yahweh blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Exodus chapter 31, verse 13. Speak thou also unto the children of Israel, saying, Verily my Sabbaths you shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that you may know that I am Yahweh Elohim that doeth sanctify you. You know, man, when we think about whoredoms, we think about stuff like this. Streetwalkers, you know, on that corner selling that thought pocket to the highest bidder, sometimes lowest bidder, depending on the times that they are in. This is how we think of it. You know, soliciting sex, you know, soliciting, you know, their vessels, soliciting vagina momentarily for a price. Whoredom, Leviticus 19:29. Do not prostitute thy daughter to cause her to be a whore, lest the land fall to whoredom, and the land become full of wickedness. So all it takes is one doing this, and others see, okay, man, I can make a quick buck, or I can do this too, and then many daughters have come to fall because of this example. This is why the Most High Yah says in the Wisdom of Solomon, when there is no example of virtue, people don't have an example of righteousness to follow. Deuteronomy chapter 23, verse 17, there shall be no whore of the daughters of Israel, nor sodomite of the sons of Israel. Whore, Hebrew word 6948, a prostitute, a harlot. You out there selling that thing, okay? We're going to talk about the spiritual aspects today, because I've definitely in the physical, but more in the spiritual for the majority of my life until I came into the knowledge of the truth and looked at the imagery and the how the Most High Yah was using marriage and using the terms of whoredom, adultery, fornication, sexual immorality. I later realized, man, I was committing whoredoms spiritually. You know, when you think about whoredoms, man, you have to include STDs because they run rampant where there is whoredom. And there's a reason why these people are, when you're out here in the physical, Hasatan knows he can put his mark on you by his spirit being in you, the spirit of rebellion against the Most High Yah, and that is going to control and take over your flesh, and you're going to be left with something you can't wash off. And the same thing spiritually, you have to be cleansed, you got to be delivered. STD, spiritually transmitted diseases. Okay, we're used to sexually transmitted diseases, but well before you partook in whoredoms, man, there was a spirit operating in you. That spirit was transmitted at some point. It had, you just didn't pick it up by touching a doorknob. No, you did something in rebellion to the Most High Yah. Spiritually transmitted diseases. See, for many years, man, I didn't know I had a case of spiritual AIDS. Not physical AIDS, spiritual AIDS. Adultery, immorality, death, sexually and spiritually. You know, when you think about whoredoms, man, that's sexual death. That doesn't lead to life. That's death spiritually. Just like STDs in the physical have showing signs and symptoms, spiritual STDs show as well. And this is oftentimes what we don't discern. Anytime a man that is carrying an STD inserts himself in a woman, the woman receives the same STD. The same way when we entertain Hasatan, he goes inside of us like a man goes in a woman and leaves us with spiritual dysfunction. Man, you can look in science and see that anytime a man inserts himself in a woman, man, he's leaving trace evidence. You know, you got to think, man, when it comes to witches and warlocks, they use sex as a transfer portal of spirits. Okay, when a woman is raped and they want to prove who did it, what do they go up inside the woman looking for? They're looking for DNA evidence, a trace, a history that a man was up in there, and it must be tied to a particular man. Like Hasatan goes inside of us and leaves us with spiritual dysfunction. He's not helping you sort out your life. He's leaving trace elements of spiritual dysfunction. And that thing in you is like a disease and like a virus. It spreads to other areas and you don't even know what's going on. Just like Hasatan went inside Eve's spirit, the minute she entertained another man that wasn't her head, hey, it was the same spiritually as if she would have laid down in the bed. He left a spiritual STD that she passed on to Adam. What was that? It was rebellion. Crafty as it was, deceitful as it was rebellion. In the same way, a woman can be the carrier of an STD today. Think about that. He infected her with his rebellion, his spirit, and what did she do? Turn around and gave it to the man. Immorality and adultery. Adultery, Hebrew word 50:03. Woman that break wedlock, a man with the wife of another. Worship of idols. That's the spiritual side of it, spiritual and physical. Immorality, Greek word porneia, G4204, fornication, unchastity, actions contrary to Yahweh's laws, especially sexual sins like adultery, fornication, prostitution, incest. Man, a crazy statistic is you look at when it comes to these Somalis, being in the news. See, people don't realize the reason why they have so many issues in that country is because that country, those people, 80% of their population or more are the product of incest. So there's spiritual dysfunction going on with those people. That's what they don't tell you. Sex outside of heterosexual marriage, idolatry, unfaithfulness to Yahweh. Oftentimes we think about, when you think about STDs, there's certain side effects that say, man, I need to go to the doctor, man. I'm burning. I got this scab, I got this rash, I got something. But spiritually, we don't think about the signs, the symptoms, the side effects of spiritually transmitted diseases. Rejection of righteousness. You got one of those, he left something in you to the point where you reject righteousness. Attraction to sin. He's putting a reprobate, when Hasatan is inserting himself into you, man, to your flesh, it's going to feel so good. The arousal is going to feel so good. But when you got to think about when a man comes inside of a woman, he ejaculates, he's sending something in her. A man through his testes is sending life into the woman. Hasatan does the reverse opposite. He's sending death into you. So you're going to have an attraction to sin, lawlessness, lack of commitment to covenant and relationship. You got to think, for men and women that have lived a life of fornication, this is why they're like, men will struggle with commitment. Women will struggle with commitment in a relationship. They don't want to put in the work. This is the side effects of spiritual STDs. Increased love of idolatry. Burning soul. Okay, there's a physical STD to where, when you think about chlamydia, you're burning. Feels like razor blades coming out. You're like, woo! Spiritually, it's the same thing when you have gotten in bed with these idols, when you've gotten in bed with Hasatan. Flesh eating away at itself. You think about some of these STDs, man, you've got a sore, an open sore that is expanding and eating away at your flesh. It's the same thing. He's not putting anything in you that's going to heal you. Highly contagious. Woo! You got to understand, man, a sexually transmitted disease is no good without a carrier. See, people don't understand that some of these sexually transmitted disease come from bestiality, from man and woman, laying with animals. And this stuff was birthed. Okay, here's another one. When it comes to spiritually, Hasatan needs something to put his rebellious spirit in. What does he use? He used your vessel. And then you go around promoting that fool. You got to think, any pastor that gets up there and promotes Christmas, man, got a spiritually transmitted disease, and he infects everybody that follows him. Promoting lawlessness. All of these side effects that I'm naming out, that they come in a package. Infertility. Okay, here's something else, man. When you think about STD, they show you pictures of STDs, they show you pus, infection. coming out of a man's sexual organ. It's the same thing. That pus is an infection. Infertility. Women don't think about this. All of the infertility issues they have, they want to go get the physical side, and the doctor says, yeah, you got a clean bill of health. Sometimes you didn't hoard yourself out to where they didn't have to remove your woman organs and do all of this stuff due to the physical damage that's been done, but nobody talks about the spiritual aspect. And the Most High Yah has locked your womb. Why would he let a child be birthed through a dirty vessel? So what does he do? He locks your womb until you seek deliverance, healing, infertility. Yah's word brings life. Whoredom brings death. You got to understand, we got a generation of young men and young women that have been raised by Pooh Shiesty and NBA Youngboy. You got to understand, man, there will be some that the Most High Yah says, you know what, you're not bringing forth children. Because if I unlock your womb and allow you to bring forth children, man, you're going to birth sons of perdition, sons of rebellion, daughters of rebellion. So I'm going to just lock it down and humble you. And you have some women, until they come bear the fruits of repentance and turn from their ways of whoredom, they won't birth children. Okay, you have some women that are infertile due to their idolatry. Nobody talks about that. Examples of whoredom. Look at this. Polyandry. I want you to think, man, everything. This is what people need to understand, man. When you look biblically, the fall of Lucifer, man, Hasatan tried to exalt himself to the level of the Most High Yah. Okay, what did he tempt Eve with? You will be like a god. He tempted her with that same thing that caused him to fall. And that's why the Most High Yah had to reject him. So Hasatan tries to move in the likeness of the Most High Yah, but he does it through rebellion. Okay, think about this. You have folk out here that say, polygyny is a sin, but they can't find it in the Torah. On the masculine can cover multiple of the feminine. Doesn't the word say, in that day, 7 women will take hold of one man, saying, well, we will make our own clothes, we will fulfill our own raiment, we will just call us by your name. Okay, don't you see 10 virgins presenting themselves to Hamashiach? See, Hasatan tries to do it by doing the complete opposite. He does it through rebellion. So here you have a woman who's supposed to be covered by one man, or multiple women covered by one man. Here you have as a woman who is designed to be a helpmeet, taking on 2 men. That's whoredom. Okay, here's another one. Let me give you another aspect. Man, when you think about how a lot of us entered into this whoredoms, man, our family, our parents, our grandparents, our elders promoted us this. They introduced us to street walking, selling that spiritual thought pocket, teaching us the ways of the heathen. Here's another one. Woman laying with woman. Man laying with man, outlined in Torah. Here we go. Negro bunny. All of this stuff. Like, when you look behind and look up the deity behind Easter, what they did was use penmanship of the scribe to insert that word one time in the KJV and insert their whoredom, their idolatry. Here's another one. Fraternity brother, sorority, pledging to an Indo-European Roman Greek mythology pantheon system when you come from a Hebraic Semitic culture. Whoredom. Spiritual marriage. Yahweh defines himself as a husband to his people. Jeremiah chapter 3 verse 14. Turn, O backsliding children, say of Yahweh, for I am married unto you. Covenant relationship equals marriage. Israel and Judah were not merely followers, they were wives. Wives, multiple. Breaking covenant equals adultery, not mere disobedience. Jeremiah chapter 3, verse 6 to 10, Yahweh said also unto me in the days of Josiah the king, Hast thou seen that which backsliding Israel hath done? She is gone up upon every high mountain, up under every green tree, and there have played the harlot, given herself spiritually to another. And I said, after she had done all these things, Turn thou unto me. Turn unto me, do a 180 and face me. Repent unto me. But she returned not, and her treacherous sister Judah saw it. And I saw, when for all the causes whereby backsliding Israel committed adultery, I had to put her away. Most High Yah divorced Israel, and given her a bill of divorce, yet her treacherous sister Judah feared not, but went and played the harlot also. He had to divorce both of them. Why? Because they was looking elsewhere. They got bored in their marriage. They got bored with righteousness and said, you know what, let's go over here and lay down up under these green trees. Let's go to every mountain high and try to get our freak on. And I saw, when for all the cause whereby backsliding Israel committed adultery, I had put her away, given her a bill of divorce, yet her treacherous sister Judah feared not, but went and played the harlot also. Didn't it say there shall be no whore in Israel, lest the people fall? All it took was one. And it came to pass through the lightness of her whoredom that she defiled the land. Oh man. And committed adultery with stones and with stocks. The worship of these deities as stones and stocks. And yet, for all this, her treacherous sister Judah have not turned unto me with her whole heart, but vainly saith Yahweh. It's the same thing when a woman, look at this verbiage. When a woman has laid down with another man, given herself to another man, she can't give you her whole heart. She's coming to you with partiality. She's only got a piece of it for you. Jeremiah chapter 3, verse 11 through 14. And Yahweh said unto me, the backsliding Israel have justified herself more than treacherous Judah. Go and proclaim these words to the north and say, Return, thou backsliding Israel, saith the master, and I will not cause mine anger to fall upon you. For I am merciful, saith the master, and I will not keep anger forever. Only acknowledge thine iniquity. Acknowledge your transgression. Acknowledge your violation. Repent that thou hast transgressed against the master thy Yahweh, and have scattered thy ways to strangers. These strangers, these Rodney Pookies and Ray Rays ain't doing nothing for you. They're not providing for you. They're not covering you. They're not delivering you, but you give what was supposed to be mine to them. Have scattered thy ways to strangers under every green tree, and you have not obeyed my voice, saith Yahweh. Man, this is the same when you read, wives are to be obedient to their husband. This is the foundation right here. Turn, O backsliding children, saith Yahweh, for I am married unto you, Israel, Judah. And I will take you, one of a city and two of a family, and I will bring you into Zion. Point of entry. When a man or woman is caught prostituting themselves, playing the harlot, committing adultery in the physical realm, in the spiritual realm, the spirit of Hasatan has already went inside of you. The sexual act of whoredom is carried out as a public display of your rebellion towards Yahweh, as the rebellious spirit has already taken command and control over your flesh. Think about that. Point of entry. You got to be cautious of who you entertain, what environments. You got to understand, people don't even realize that you got people out there testifying to these parties that they were sex workers at these Diddy parties. There's videos out there. People don't understand, just by them being in that environment, you know, people that had no idea what they were about to entertain, spirits partook on them, and they didn't went out into this world and carried on that spiritually transmitted disease, this freakery, this whoredom, and they wonder, man, why am I so freaky out of now? You know, why am I one of these men? You didn't went to a party and got turned out. Now you didn't try to be married, and you got your legs behind, up in the air as a man and you want your woman to do ungodly stuff to you in your butthole. That spirit had to enter into you before you said, well, let me just blow the coolness of the air up my butthole as a man. Point of entry. Some of the stuff you watch on TV, you listen to the stuff on the radio, it's not righteousness. These people is promoting being booty hole bandits, being carpet munchers. There's a spiritual point of entry well before your flesh does any of this. That's what we got to acknowledge. The Garden of Eden. Eve created for Adam, but entertained another spirit. Genesis 2:18-24, Eve was made specifically for Adam. She wasn't made for nobody else. He didn't say, I'm gonna take your rib and I'm gonna make you for 3 or 4 more men. You know, you can have side pieces, entanglements, sneaker links. Genesis chapter 3, verse 1-6. She received the word. She received the rebellious, deceitful, crafty words of the serpent. Just like a woman that's married, laying down with a man that's not her husband. Though she belonged to Adam, she listened to another voice. That's common today. If you belong to the Most High Yah, what are you doing entertaining the voices and the instructions and the mythology and the falsehoods of these other deities? She received another's instruction. She was supposed to be obedient to Adam, but she followed the instructions of another man. She acted on another's will. This was the first act of spiritual adultery before physical sin followed. Genesis chapter 3, verse 1-6. Now the serpent was more subtle. Ooh, he was smooth. Smooth. We live in a world where all of these side dudes, smoother than oil, than any beast of the field which the master Yahweh had made. You talking about some gift of gab? You talking about talk Eve out her spiritual draws? And he said unto the woman, baby, have Yahweh said, you shall not eat of every tree of the garden? Did it really tell you couldn't eat this? Baby. And the woman said unto the serpent, here we go. Should have kept her mouth shut. And the woman said unto the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the trees, this is that entanglement. Anytime a woman, anytime us, man, we get in an entanglement, trying to go back and forth to convince Hasatan and try to give him an enlightenment, but he's already busting you wide open. Which is in the midst of the garden, Yahweh have said, you shall not eat of it, neither shall you touch it, lest you die. He letting you know that's death. And the serpent said unto the woman, he's rapping with her. He's shooting his shot. You shall not surely die. So she had to put her trust in another man. For Yahweh doeth know that in the day you eat thereof, then your eyes shall be open, and you shall. He used the same thing that caused him to fall to get woman to fall. You shall be as gods. The Most High Yah created you to be a helpmeet, and he wanted to exalt you beyond your purpose, knowing good and evil. And then when the woman saw that the tree, so she trusted in the explanation of the enemy. The tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and the tree to be desired to make one wise. She took of the fruit thereof and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. He got the STD too. He got infected. You know, man, when you think about us being a vessel for a spirit, while the Most High Yah wants us filled with his Ruach HaKodesh, his Holy Spirit, Yahweh is spirit. You think about a vagina and the scientific anatomy of it. A vagina, a vessel made to receive, made to hold. Humans as a vessel that receives spirits. Romans chapter 6, verse 16. To whom you Yield yourselves, servants, to obey his servants you are. Just as a woman is designed to receive a man physically, humans are designed to receive spiritual influence. Yahweh intended for his people to receive his spirit, his word, his instructions. When we receive foreign spirits like Solomon was the original passport bro, but he was receiving foreign spirits due to his love for foreign women that were idolatrous. We commit spiritual whoredom the same as a wife who offers her vagina to another man. It's supposed to be on lockdown spiritually. But here you are whipping that thing, getting juicy for another man. We do the same thing spiritually. It starts off spiritually first. Spiritual adultery explained. Spiritual adultery explained through Olah and Holabah. Ezekiel 23, verse 1 through 4. Two sisters, Olahah, Samaria, Israel, Olabah, Jerusalem, Judah, both committed whoredoms with other nations. They was about their life, as people would say today. Ezekiel 27, 23:7. She committed her whoredoms with them. Yah uses graphic marital language to show emotional attachment, spiritual penetration, covenant betrayal. Ezekiel 23, 1 through 4. The words of the master came again unto me, saying, Son of man, there were two women, the daughters of one mother, and they committed whoredoms in Egypt. You got to think today, okay, you have women that go to Dubai, and for money, it's the same thing as a woman getting out, walking up and down the street, pacing with that little fast twitch they be having. You got women today that go over to Dubai and let these rich men poop on them, poop and pee on you, smear this stuff on you, whoredoms. And they committed whoredoms in Egypt. They committed whoredoms in their youth. There were their breasts pressed, and there they bruised the test of their virginity. And the names of them were Olahah the elder and Holabah, her sister, and they were mine. They belong to me. And they bear sons and daughters. Thus were their names. Samaria is Olahah, and Jerusalem is Olabah. 5 through 7. And Olahah played the harlot when she was mine. You got to understand, whoredom, fathers, when your daughter goes out there and fornicates and lays down in high school, your daughter's losing their virginity. You know, letting these little boys stick their finger up on them, and they come to class with these funky tilapia smelling fingers. That's whoredoms. Everybody cheering her on. Ooh, girl, you let him. Ooh, girl, girl, you got it going on. I want to be like you. And she dotted on her lovers, on the Assyrians, her neighbors, which were clothed with blue, captains and rulers, all of them desirable young men, horsemen riding upon horse. Man, it was attractive. Thus she committed her whoredoms with them, with all them that were the chosen men of Assyria, and with all on whom she doted, with all their idols she defiled herself. Today's world would cheer you on. Oh yeah, hypergamy. Spiritually, we're the same way. We say, man, I'm good on all this righteous stuff. I'm good on all this Holy Spirit stuff. Let me go out here and try to find something better. Let me go over here and see if the grass is. Let me just go on 1 or 2 dates spiritually. Let me just entertain 1 or 2 of these other deities and just see if there's a spark. See, because you're not walking in truth, you feel that the spark has been lost walking in the Ruach. But that's a spirit already operating in you that causes you to think like that. Pagan holidays, Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 2. Thus saith the master, thus saith Yahweh, learn not the way of the heathens, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathens are dismayed at them. Holidays like Christmas, they're busting your spiritual thought pocket wide open. You up there giving it to Nimrod. Easter, Deity Esther, Halloween, New Year's are rooted in Roman Greek mythology and foreign deities. Rebranding pagan worship with Christian labels does not sanctify it. In the spiritual realm, it's the same as a wife inviting, we want to sprue, man, my wife asked me to bring in another man. A wife inviting another man into her marriage bed while still claiming loyalty to her husband. Man, this is something that the Christian church fails to teach. Adultery is defined by the status of a woman. Biblical definition of adultery is based on a woman's marital status. A man cannot commit adultery with a single woman who is not married, who is not betrothed, who is not taken in marriage. Deuteronomy 22:22. If a man be found lying with a woman, here's her status, married to an husband. So she belonged to somebody else. Her status matters. Then they shall both of them die, both the man that lay with the woman and the woman. Penalty is death. People think they doing something today physically and spiritually by entertaining all these deities. I look at it, man. You know, you got a lot of you have a lot of people out here that call themselves godly, giving advice, and the minute you sitting up eating off their table, they're going to verbalize their idolatry. I look at a show out there called like clips from it, and it's Conversations Tonight or something. These people be giving relationship advice, and it be straight lawlessness. At times they dibble and dabble in a little bit of religious understanding, but it ain't divine understanding. You sit up there giving advice, mixing the word of the Most High Yah with, zodiac signs and all that. This is the reason why we act this way. You got to think, man, when it comes to these zodiac signs, each one of these deity has a character, has a personality traits, and people receive that influence and say, this is why I act that way. Because I'm this, because I'm that. You got to think, Tyrese had a song, These Are the Signs of Love Make. None of that song was righteous. So shalt thou put away evil from Israel. Biblically, adultery is defined by covenant status. You in a covenant. A married woman engaging another man commits adultery. A married man, engaging with another man's wife, that's adultery. This is why Yahweh uses marriage language for idolatry. Are you a pure bride? It ain't about the clothes. You put on this white veil. You gotta understand, believers are the bride of Yahshua, 2 Corinthians 11:2. For I am jealous over you with godly jealousy, for I have espoused you to one husband. I gave you one husband, that I may present you as a chaste virgin to Hamashiach. Revelation 19:7-8. The marriage supper of the Lamb. As the bride, we must remain pure. You got to understand, if the Messiah was not polygynous to us, as individuals, we wouldn't have salvation. We wouldn't have covering. We wouldn't have protection. If the Most High, if it wasn't for Messiah, Israel and Judah could not return. We must remain pure. We must remain undefiled. We must not receive other lovers, deities, gods, customs, spirits. Spiritual purity. Why a pure virgin bride is required biblically. Deuteronomy 22:13-21. Importance of virginity. A virgin bride has not been penetrated physically. Symbolizes spiritual purity. Anytime, man, you have lost your virginity, man, you're going to be operating with some sort of spiritual dysfunction. That cleanliness that you've been operating in is still lingering in you. Spiritually, Yah desires a bride not defiled by other doctrines, gods, deities, or practices. Outside of widowhood, meaning a woman has been entered into righteously, purity is emphasized to reflect covenant loyalty. Final warning to the last day brides, James chapter 4:4. You adulterers and adulteress, know you not that friendship with the world is enmity with Yahweh. Friendship with the world equals intimacy. And this is what it is. You got a lot of people straddling the fence. They want to play Israel. They want to play righteous, but yet they really don't have a love for the Most High Yah because they still entertaining this stuff that comes from the world. Intimacy with the world equals adultery. The bride must choose Yah or the nations. You can't have both. You ain't going to be... See, people today call themselves committing spiritual polyandry. There's nothing you can do. You are in the position, when it comes to spiritually, you are in the position of a wife, of a bride. You belong to a husband. So you got to choose me, or you can choose them. Israel chose them other nations, and Israel continues to choose the other nations today. You want truth or you want tradition? You got to understand. You got to think, man. This is when you are in what folk call the holiday season. It's nothing but lawless tradition. You got fake folk out here faking like they love Yah, and they're choosing tradition over truth. Man, that's spiritual adultery. That's whoredoms. You didn't gave yourself to another. Why? Because when you think about it, Hasatan is very good with allowing you to feel the pleasure of transgression of sin against the Most High Yahweh, against your husband, against Messiah. You coming to Hamashiach defiled, dirty, thought pocket looking like sandwich meat spiritually. You got to choose covenant or compromise. Okay, here's another one. When here's the thing. When you look in the Torah and it says, man, when you have a wife who commits adultery and she goes and marries or entertains another man, the first husband cannot return unto her. It's because she's been compromised. Okay? When you look spiritually, you've been compromised by sin. How is the only way you can return unto the Most High? Repentance, bearing the fruit, turning from your whoredoms, turning from your harlotry ways, turning from your adultery, turning from your friendship with the world, your intimacy with the world. As we close, understand this sobering truth. Spiritual whoredom is covenant betrayal. And Yahweh has never tolerated it among his people. Israel was divorced not for ignorance, but for repeated willful adultery with other gods, cultures, and spiritual systems. Okay, when you taking this hair coming from a whole nother culture, putting it on your head, men doing it too. Whoredoms. Today, the same patterns repeat themselves as many who claim to be the bride of Messiah, men and women, continue to receive pagan traditions. You can't part ways with it. Now you hooked on the digging stick of another deity. You didn't got turned out, you freak. This is how we get. See, Hasatan, he knows what you got is good in Yahweh. He knows that. He knows Yahweh is going to provide for you. He knows Yahweh is going to deliver you. He knows the blessings come from Yahweh. So what does he want to do? He come in like a low-life, dirty dick dud. And what do he want to do? He wants your spiritual toes curling. Hasatan want to turn you out. So he introduces you to all of this defiled stuff that's against the word of Yah. So when you return home, what's at home ain't good enough for you no more. You've been turned out. You didn't have your spiritual back blown out. And a lot of children, if not raised in righteousness, man, they getting their spiritual thought pocket turned out every time you teaching them these traditions that come from other deities while they sitting up mixing and matching. Man, every time we partake in practices rooted in Roman and Greek mythology under the guise of Christianity, we reenact the same spiritual infidelity that led to Israel's judgment. The same type of unbelief Yah is calling his people to be pure and undefiled bride, loyal in spirit, worship and practice. In these last days, we examine what we are receiving. Pay attention to what you're receiving. You got to understand, man, when we send our children off to the public school system, we're whoring them out. You wonder why they depend more on the guidance of the teachers than they do the parents. You didn't whore them out. Man, it wasn't until the 1900s, early 1900s, that reformers introduced this public food system, and people said, you know what, let me send my children over there. I don't want to train them up in the way they should go. I'm going to put that responsibility on somebody else. This is why we have this reprobate generation, and teachers are quitting at an alarming rate, saying, parents, you deal with the foolishness. It's the same way when a married woman entertains another man, got a little side dude. He don't want no responsibility. He don't want to pay them bills. He don't want to cover her spiritually. So what does he do? He sends your defiled butt back to your husband, where the covering, the provisions are. Teachers are doing the same thing today. You didn't raise these reprobate, rebellious children? We're quitting. We can't deal with it. You go back to your husband. You go back to your daddy. Man, may we examine what we are receiving, who we are listening to, and whom we are truly intimate with. So that when the bridegroom returns, the second coming of Hamashiach, he finds a faithful wife. He can safely trust in your spiritual condition. He can safely trust that you done had, your conjugal right have been spared for him to be spiritually intimate with you and you with him. He comes to you and he starts, if you didn't defile yourself, he's smelling, whoo, this smells like tilapia. It smells a little off. Smells like shrimp. Smells like crab meat. What's going on with you spiritually? So that when the bridegroom returns, he finds a faithful wife in action. Not in lip service, in actions. Not a harlot. See, Hamashiach, I want you to understand. Hamashiach, the second coming, and here you are. If that joker chose to show up on a day that you worshiping all these deities, you think he's gonna you think you're gonna have any excuse? Well, we did it in your name. We did it because the pastor said. We did it because it was family tradition. He's showing up and you out there in an Easter bunny suit planting these eggs. No. I want you to understand, like, when a man and a woman get caught in adultery, what do? They go, oh, oh, oh. That's the same way folk gonna be when Hamashiach return, as they defile themselves. Man, we need to understand that everything that we do in the physical is a chain reaction that started with the spiritual infiltration. Okay, you at the grocery store. Married women come up to you as a man, spitting that game. She belongs to somebody else. But like Proverbs says, man, her words are smoother than honey. My husband is away. She wearing something revealing, like Proverbs said. Come on and lay down and let us make our love known. Man, I want you to understand. Let me go back to, I want you to look at these side effects. And this is going to show you, let me go to it. These spiritually transmitted diseases. Rejection of righteousness. Man, once, you got to understand, man, there is a plethora of women today making videos on how to leave a good husband, how to leave a good man. See, once you've been turned out spiritually, what is righteous is no longer good enough for you because you are attracted to lawlessness. You attracted to spiritual dysfunction. Some people, okay, man, once you have the Ruach HaKodesh, you should be attracted to peace. You should be attracted to truth. You should be attracted to things that are in order, not confusion. It's evident that some people that have been spiritually turned out that are attracted to everything opposite that's a fruit of the spirit. And they wonder why this stuff is always finding itself in your life because you're going out looking for it. Lack of commitment. You don't have the intestinal fortitude to survive a covenant marriage, biblical marriage. Increased level of idolatry. You've been turned out. Now you have this crave, this thirst for others. Burning soul, flesh eating away at itself. Man, no matter how much you try to, you put that Beijing on your head, no matter how much you put these wigs and weaves and makeup, all the stuff on, hey, your flesh is eating away at itself. That's why a lot of people, they take this stuff off, they look dead. Highly contagious. You let one freak in your house. One person has got one of these spiritual transmitted diseases and they're going to infect your children. You got to understand, you have families out there that are allowed a freak off of an uncle or auntie in their household. Oh, we family. And they didn't turn the children out. Now because an uncle or auntie done touched you as a young boy, now you a booty hole bandit. I'm telling you, man, you got to think. This right here, this friendship with the world, man, that's what causes, one of the causes of infertility. Y'all created that womb. You don't have the keys to it. Oftentimes, while living this freak-off life, you think you do. You ain't got the keys to it. Most of y'all can lock you down or open you up when he wants. You got a lot of women finding out they getting locked down, getting their wombs locked down a lot early in life. But look at the rebellion. You ain't lived the life of a virgin. You haven't lived a life obedient to the word of the Most High Yah. Yah's word brings life. Whoredoms bring death. Hasatan wants to make whoredom seem fun. This is where everybody at. This is why when you look at the line of people that say they love God, man, that line is long. People out there, like they're at a club. That line is long. But when you look at that second door, people that obey Yah, that line's short. That line's short. Other line got all the religious folk there. That's got a spirit of godliness, but deny the power of. That's why only a remnant will be saved. See, man, when we address the spiritual call, man, why do I crave this stuff? When we address this spiritual disease and we get deliverance from it, the physical is going to showcase that we've been healed, that we've been delivered. You got people out there battling addictions, and this is the reason why when it comes to recovery, it's got a low success rate. Because they don't address, they try to use science, they try to use counseling, psychology, they use Western medicine. But what you need is Eastern, Hebraic deliverance. The spirit. We got to address the spiritual aspect. Man, I hope I've said something today that, helps you understand what's really going on. And in the last days, man, we have to make sure, we are scanning our sectors. A lot of this stuff that your children like is loaded with other spirits, and they getting turned out, even in the cartoons. The stuff that they like is filled with other spirits, not of the Most High Yah, and you're wondering why their behavior is off. Yeah, they're getting turned out. They're getting turned out. We're getting turned out. Oftentimes we've been turned out. We want to put on, you got to think people want to put on all white for Labor Day. You've been turned out, just dirty. Just dirty. I want you to think about it. Spiritually, the condition we're in is, you know, prior to walking in truth, being filled with his ruach, being delivered from this stuff. I want you to think about a hooker in an alley getting gangbanged and all these men just skeet up on and you got all this stuff crust sticking to you. That's the way we are spiritually, but we don't like to look at it like that because it sounds so bad. But when you accept it as the truth, you're going to realize, man, I got to get this. This stuff is, you know, you didn't have these demons just skeet all on you. This is the way we got to look at it. And I know, trust me, I know it sounds bad. I know some people out there will be like, man, this is comical. But this is really, when we think about, see, the Most High Yah don't see us the way we see us. See, our flesh wants us to make us think that we can deceive him. No, he see the real you. And if you a spiritual bust down, you a spiritual bust down. He knows it. He knows it. You ain't going to pull the wool over his eye. Israel and Judah couldn't. Man, glory to the King. The King is coming. Turn from your sins. Shabbat Shalom, Israel. Closer to y'all ministries. Kicking that thing, gun barrel straight. Bow.